Tonight, the UWP calls on the SLP political leader to apologize after comments about the island's supposed lack of preparedness for new coronavirus. A survivor of human trafficking appeals to young runaways, and a concerned attorney is calling on health authorities to identify a facility suitable to house the criminally insane. We have the details of these stories and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Wednesday, the 4th of March, 2020. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We're on Flow Channel 117. The broadcast is also being simulcast on Kiss FM Radio, on our mobile app, and the Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. The United Workers' Party is calling on SLP leader Philip J. Pierre to apologize to the Prime Minister and the country following comments made at an SLP community meeting where Pierre insisted that St. Lucia is the least prepared country in the region when it comes to new coronavirus. UWP spokesperson Nancy Charles calls the statements careless, erroneous, and disingenuous.
At that meeting, Philip J. Pierre said to his people that the Prime Minister did not attend the meeting. He refused to attend the meeting, and that the Prime Minister did not care really about this virus and what was happening in St. Lucia. In fact, he also said that St. Lucia is the worst prepared island. We just wanted to juxtapose that versus the statement that was made by Honorable Sean Edward on Friday last week at a NIMAC meeting that was held. And you would appreciate that a NIMAC meeting is normally held when there is a pending natural disaster. And the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers felt that this coronavirus was so serious that we would treat it as a pending disaster, hence the reason we called the NIMAC meeting. Honorable Sean Edwards at that meeting, to the end of the meeting in his comments, said that he was thoroughly impressed. He praised the work of the staff of the Ministry of Health, and he said in his opinion he doesn't think that there's any other Caribbean island that is as prepared as St. Lucia, and that this was a world-class preparation that was ongoing.
She says it is shameful that on the backdrop of such a serious matter, which the World Health Organization has declared a public health emergency of international concern, that opposition leader Philip J. Pierre would choose to use his platform as an opportunity to play politics, spread false information, and to instill fear in St. Lucians. Over the past months, media reports have frequently featured cases of missing or runaway teens. Ella Prosper is a well-known and controversial personality who goes by the alias Ecstasy, but she's also a human trafficking survivor, and she's making a plea to young people to seek proper guidance and to appreciate the dangers lurking in the real world. Though sympathetic to the many issues that may lead to teens running away from home, Prosper noted that there are more responsible ways of seeking reprieve from dysfunctional family situations. Jacques Wooding reports.
Human trafficking, a dark side of society which Ella Prosper, commonly known as Ecstasy, knows all too well, especially having lived through it. Kidnapped off the streets at a young age, held in a shipping container, and sold to the highest bidder. This horrible trauma nearly destroyed her life. But now she advocates for young people to realize the reality of human trafficking in St. Lucia. Prosper, in light of what she describes as an evident increase in teenage runaways, issued the following message to the youth.
I've been victim to human trafficking, believe it or not, and it's not a good thing because I've seen young ladies lose their life, and there's families that have been hurt by that. To the two young ladies that are out there, ladies, if you're just on a spree, take my advice, come back home, because your mother, your friends, they are out there and it's hurting. Even me as a parent, every time I watch on Facebook and I see that young woman picture, it hurts me because, when you run away, you might meet a little boyfriend and you go with him, and when you reach there is around 3 other guys waiting there. I've been there. So you need to think first before you put yourself in that position.
Prosper believes that the underlying issue of social ills like teenage prostitution and runaways are due to the effects of peer pressure.
If you have your friends at school that encouraging you to, my girl, let's go, we're going in that dance, we're going in that day. Sweetie, you have your life ahead of you, you can wait. Running away is not a game. You can run away and you can come back with a pregnancy, and pregnancy come back with disease, and disease come back with scorns, and scornfulness come back with rejection. So you guys need to take your time in life because you can't wait for these things.
She urged mothers to be strong when faced with the radical actions of young people who abandon their home environments with little regard for their impact on family members. She highlighted the need for parental support during difficult times.
I do have a good mother. She used to be praying for me. Being out there, you don't have nobody. But when you know you have a mother praying for you, some of us are not fortunate. So to the young men and young women that are out there unfortunate that you have your mother at home, not because your mother is bawling at you, go and clean your room, you're not going nowhere. She knows why. Mothers know best. They know why, because let me tell you, if your mother would tell you, my girl, go to the dance hall tonight, you're a school child, you have to be home studying, you take your time to grow and you will enjoy it in the long run.
Prosper urges the youth to seek out facts surrounding human trafficking rings in the Caribbean. She hopes for the safe return of all the nation's missing child cases. For Hot 7 News, I am Jacques Oding.
If you aspire to be an athlete, you practice. If you aspire to achieve academically, you study. And according to counseling psychologist Calixtus Jean-Louis, if you aspire to be a good parent, then you should be open to the idea of parental training. Jean-Louis believes that during the medical monitoring of pregnant women especially, health authorities should acknowledge that several key skills will be needed to raise a holistically healthy child and make training available to expecting mothers.
These things are supposed to be readily available whilst the parents are pregnant and they go to clinic. So part of the medical intervention in clinic is to do parenting session, because many times, okay, these parents are more vulnerable than the baby that's coming there. They lack the resources, they are highly stressed, they are unemployed, and it is a potential disaster that is awaiting. So you nip it at the birth.
Jean-Louis stresses that the psychological well-being of a child is equally as important as their physical status, and hopes that in the future more emphasis will be placed on ensuring parents understand the impact that verbal abuse and various types of neglect may have on a developing child.
This is one of the issues that St. Lucia has high on the agenda, the abuse of children. And many times, children feel so powerless. They feel overwhelmed. Children are exposed to domestic violence. Children feel highly stressed at home. And poverty, okay, plays a very significant role in influence all of those emotions and all of those mindsets. And those children would look for a way out of this.
He underscored that currently private resources are available for expecting parents and encourages especially first-time parents to explore training opportunities. The World Bank has committed $12 billion in aid for developing countries grappling with the spread of new coronavirus or COVID-19. The emergency package includes low-cost loans, grants, and technical assistance. The action comes as leaders around the world pledge to shield their countries from the economic impact of the outbreak. It follows warnings that slowdown from the outbreak could tip countries into recession. The aid is intended to help countries improve their public health response to the crisis, as well as work with the private sector to reduce the economic impact. Recommendations have been made that the government consider Rat Island as a quarantine zone as discussions advance on protocols for new coronavirus. The government has indicated that it is considering commissioning the Owen King EU Hospital ahead of schedule, allowing VH to be used as a quarantine site. We took to the streets to hear your views on the issue. Where do you think would be an ideal quarantine zone for new coronavirus cases?
Coronavirus or COVID-19 is something that is on everyone's mind and being spoken about in every household. Today, the Hot 7 team took to the streets to find out where St. Lucians believe is the most suitable quarantine site and what is it that they thought about Rat Islet being the designated zone.
Of doing nothing. It is very good to do that, and it will serve a good purpose in case anything happens where the virus is affecting us. So I'm in support of it.
Rhode Island will be okay for that thing, for the virus thing.
And why do you think so?
Yeah, because they have the space and there's nothing down.
I think that's the best place anyway because it's isolated. It's away from everybody else. I think it's the best way.
My knowledge of history, this has been chosen in the past as a quarantine area. So I guess they're just acting on what they already known to have happened in the past. For me, I believe for now, it looks like a perfect place. But if I do a little more research, maybe I could cover a lot more suitable places to do that. But the fact is that they have done it in the past. Because my grandmother and these people told stories about this place, and it has come up as a quarantine area.
The area there, close proximity to the coastline, and they have about 3 hotels. It's the same, and a lot of people interact in there. So it's still, there's a place in Grandlands, Wasteland, just put a big facility there. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, they could put me there too. Yeah, if I catch it, they put me there too.
I think it's very conducive for that job, because it's beyond the sea, and I'm not sure, it's probably a few thousand square feet, I think this would be good, Whoever came up with the idea, I think it's very nice.
Moi-même pas même ça, ça me do myself.
Non, ça
Rat Islet? Ça va fait. Il passe à fait. Combien de temps il y a pour voir l'hôpital ça?
Nous pouvons savoir si c'est l'hôpital qui a mis Rat Islet, mais c'est là où vous mettez.
Là où vous mettez? Well, this is the moi dit ça va fait.
Honestly, don't even talk about Rat Islet. Rat Islet place will never happen because right now there'll be a lot of working to do it at Rat Islet, and plus if we have no corona in St. Lucia, and we don't want it in this country. So I don't see nothing about that. We don't want no Rat Islet thing. We don't have no corona in this country. That's all.
Across the water, away from the healthy people, that would be good. I'd feel a little bit secure. But to be on the same flatland with the people, I think I'm in danger. Other people are very sticky in that.
Yeah, well, actually, my thoughts on Rat Islet being used as a quarantine site, I am not too particular about it. I think it's a good idea because it has been used before, I think, St. Lucia as a hood when we had leprosy. And my first concern is that there are no inhabitants on Rat Islet. Nobody lives there presently, so nobody is threatened by it being used as a site, and it's away from the general population. It's not surrounded by sea, so I think it is a very good choice. My threat to have been if there are people living there, or any animal or fauna or flora species that be affected by, I think it's the most appropriate site coming to mind. I think that was a good pick.
This is what St. Lucians had to say. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
One concerned attorney is calling on health authorities to identify a facility which would be suitable to house the criminally insane. His comments come on the heels of a controversial court ruling of millions of dollars to 2 mentally unsound former prisoners. The High Court has ordered the state to pay damages in the amounts of over $5 million and over $3 million to Francis Noel and Anthony Henry. The 2 men were incarcerated for decades after they were deemed unfit to plead due to mental illness. During the hearing on the case of the 2 men, it was emphasized that prisons are not designed as facilities for the mentally ill, yet many mentally ill persons who cannot access psychiatric treatment are simply swept into the prison system after being accused of a crime and are more often than not left to languish there. Attorney at law and president of the OECS Bar Association, Thaddeus Antoine, calls for health authorities to increase efforts to ensure that the necessary structures are present in society to deal with the criminally insane.
It really calls on the authorities, the health authorities, to make sure there are proper structures in place that when people are diagnosed with mental illness, there's proper follow-up, there's proper treatment, So we have to do much more than that. We have to take mental illness seriously. And mental illness is not about, we say the person is mad, the person is crazy. Depression is all part of mental illnesses, right? So we have to bear all those things in mind. So we have to continue speaking to people, continue looking at our systems, and continue monitoring. Monitoring and following up is essential to that.
He underscored that both the Mental Hospitals Act and the Correctional Services Act state that people of unsound mind ought to be committed to, transferred to, or detained at a mental hospital. Antoine suggests that health authorities explore the possibility of commissioning a site for the criminally insane at the existing mental hospital.
While we have a mental hospital, the mental hospital is not a criminal mental hospital. So you can't place people who are deemed to be or who have not been accused of any crime to be placed among persons who have been accused of crimes, right? So as such, we need to have established a facility where we could put people who are criminally insane, for want of a better word, so that they could be treated properly in those institutions and not mingle with the general prison population or remand population, which are people who are not considered to be mentally ill, right? And not to be mingling with people who are mentally ill but who are not criminally mentally ill. So we must have a separate institution.
The attorney says without the swift intervention of health authorities, the release and compensation of remanded mentally ill prisoners is something that could become the norm in St. Lucia for miscarriage of justice. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the St. Lucia Police Force receives a donation of crucial crime scene investigation equipment from the RSS. The CCC takes action to address a hazard at a city park. And the NWU and the council are still at loggerheads over the impasse that saw sanitation workers downing their tools, despite what they both touted as an amicable resolve. That and more coming up after the break.